Now, it's a time I imagine many of us would like to forget, but before and during the dark years of 2020 to 2022, we were wrapping up 4 years of character refresh updates, everyone. But after and beyond those dark times, we still have the prospect of another 2+ years of character refresh updates. Why? Why torture me so, Klei? Especially when none of what we have just seen was even planned. And how can I draw such a conclusion? Well, they teased all of the content dumps and updates in their roadmap, right? But upon rereading this thing now, there is not a single word pertaining to a single survivor skill tree in sight, let alone a survivor update at that. So let us just infer for the rest of this video's intro, shall we? For you see, even if you had no idea what you were doing, what better way to plant a seed for the rest of 2023 than with the OG? Technically a 2022 update, the Wilson refresh would indeed fully release in March of this year, marking the bittersweet end of the character updates, or so we thought. As coupled with the second half of this release, the Nightmare Werepig, Wilson heralded the formula of releases that we would see all throughout this year, however we just didn't know it yet. And side note, this also applies to the absolutely incredible amount of lore that we have seen throughout this year as well, as Klei hit nothing but bangers with these animations this go around. But that very structure in question would be none other than the skill trees, of course, everybody, and foolish me for thinking that they would be unique to this guy, am I right? Still, we were clueless then, so let us act it now as we highlight the return of the insight system, the specific branches of built-upon perks, some fresh flair, and even the introduction of affinities, of course. It was novel, and even if we can still question the inclusion of some of these skills, i.e. the torch tree, I believe each and every one of us were rather marveled at the possibilities in this release, especially when half of the focus was turned to this furry friend, the Nightmare Werepig. The set piece is intriguing, although I still believe we should have brought a new portion of the ruins with this guy. The start of the fight was very much unlike what we have seen before outside of the Ancient Fuel Weaver, which was a very nice touch, and the fight itself is just fun. Stalking mechanics that sneakily heal a guy, our first look at stunning mechanics that became prevalent in 2023, multiple phases that served a purpose beyond combat, and more. It was and is great stuff, honestly, that has only gotten better over time with some of the new loots and otherwise. But hold up, Beard, all I've heard you going on about this year is how much you don't like the skill trees. So why did all of that sound very positive? Oh, it's very simple, folks, because while I can sit here and believe wholeheartedly that skill trees are inherently bad for this game, I can still appreciate what Klei gives us. Now, it took me a lot longer to come to this conclusion than I would care to admit, but for me, skill trees are good if they are fun and fundamentally sound. So where does our OG Wilson fall in, you ask? Well, on the fun side, not so much. Fundamental side, it's pretty close. On the cool mechanic side, absolutely. Not that torch tree, though. I don't care what you're going to say to justify it. I don't care if Klei was actually coming out to do better things for newer players to make it easier. No. For me, that is a prime example of a tree that did not push the boundaries towards fun. Yes, it's kind of working on his chemistry side, but you didn't apply it to lanterns or other mush lights? What if we were able to like overcharge them, have better light radius, but they just drain faster? Like, even that alone would have been fine. And when you look at his affinity on that tree, being able to throw torches, and no one else in the constant can do that, inherent problem with the skill trees. The rest of it, though, I really got nothing bad to say. The alchemy tree, very fun. All those transmutations, great. I just really wanted them to have some goofiness with his failed chemistry, but now he's just like an absolute genius, but that's okay. And the beard tree, I'm not just saying this because the obvious, but it's actually an incredible tree. One side of it, maybe not so much, but the beard storage and the faster growth of it, fantastic. Especially when you combine it with a really sneaky mechanic that they added in this, where you can like razor one level at a time. That's great. Factor in the Nightmare Werepig and everything that came with them before, after, and during even recent updates, and this is a solid foundation. Yes, we were a little gun shy when it first came out. We're still a little fearful of what this means for the future, but by its lonesome, this is a major player. It truly is. There's a big issue though, everyone. Because this was such a good foundation, they kind of used it to propel them to their future plans, and I'm not really sure that was a good idea because this guy just kind of got left behind. We know that they didn't just stick with Wilson and expand upon it. In fact, they tripled down on skill trees and would later confirm that every single survivor would eventually be getting similar treatments, which to me was kind of crazy. But this first batch did make sense. Woody was in desperate need of love from more than just his Canadian brethren for years. Wormwood was becoming objectively obsolete in the grand scheme of things, and Wolfgang was just boring. Now, did this skill tree spotlight fix all of that for them? No, not even close, unfortunately. However, it did do plenty justice to them all, and it gave us a lot more to talk about in regards to its trailer than initially thought, so that's a plus. But another amazing sight to see was indeed a Woody getting the chops he deserved after years of mistreatment. His newfound skills were about as self-explanatory as they could have been, and yet they added so much in their simplicity. Unique wooden starting gear for the entire team, fresh living log farms, more efficient and expanded upon forms, and of course a lunar affinity that saved his butt from the full moon. Unfortunately though, Klei may have to plan another advent for the moon's greatest ally, as while I absolutely adore Wormwood and their tree, it has very clearly been left in the dust by comparison, but we'll get to that. For now, note the structure of the skills being the best we've seen, the singular affinity to the lunar side of this war, their marvelous mushroom mashups, better blooming, crap crafts, and more. But lastly, Wolfgang, whose tree is just so boring that I'm not even sure where to begin. Now, it's not bad per se, but given the now 6 trees we have seen, his is laughably tiny and, ironically enough, too normal. This segment's gonna have to be quick points, everyone, because holy moly, 3 characters in one, too much to talk about. We could be here all day. But Wolfgang, I get it, he's always just been boring, but for them to just add more damage, add a weird whistle that just doesn't make sense because you can only use it in normal form, but you're never gonna be using Wolfgang in normal form because it doesn't make sense for him to be using followers. Yeah, Wolfgang's tree, not good at all. They have to return to that. Again, Wolfgang's gonna get like his 6th refresh in like 2 years. But I will say positively, the dumbbells are nice. I love that you can overcharge his mightiness. I just wish there was something more to overcharging mightiness apart from just having a higher number in your overcharge meter. His affinities are actually probably the best affinities we have seen, even if they are just straight damage and damage reduction, of course. And I will say the cool factor of being able to one-shot work, that is a great example of fun and fundamentally sound, especially when combined with the previous refreshes. But then let's shift gears to somebody who has never gotten a refresh at all and has mostly only gotten updates here and there sprinkled in another character's refresh or a quality of life update. Wormwood. And it's an interesting one, because I absolutely adore this character, and I think this skill tree fits them to a T. It just flows nicely, it sounds nice, it plays nice. Minus maybe the summoning of the lunar affinities, and maybe the bramble stuff, but, excuse me, not bramble stuff, bright shade stuff on the other side. But at the end of the day, the fact that that's only lunar is a great touch, it's fun, it's fundamental. The issue, in the grand scheme of things of the game now, post-endgame with the mutations, host of horror, planar damage, this guy has nothing. So while I can sit here and say that Wormwood's is likely my 2nd favorite skill tree of all time, he got left behind. And that's an inherent problem with the skill trees that is starting to rear its head. Every single time Klei releases a new one, or maybe even a new content update on top of the skill trees, they have to one-up themselves over and over and over again, and so all the previous ones start feeling obsolete. And Wormwood, as great as this tree is, as fun as the mushroom things are, as amazing as the bramble traps and bramble armor things applying to all players no matter what, when Wormwood creates them, that's my response, everybody. This, because I'm sitting here like, yep, what happened? Why? Why are we doing this? And you know what? I said the same thing in the content updates. It's going to be a problem. But let's wrap this segment up with Woody. And hate to like really make this succinct because there is a lot to talk about, but Woody's tree is beyond phenomenal. The only 2 negatives I got about this tree are shadow affinity, because no one is going to pick that over just not going into a forced form during a full moon, and his quick bigger tree. Everything else is phenomenal. Better timers, longer lasting forms, expanded upon forms, amazing affinities for set forms, and the frickin' moose. How are we not going to say the frickin' moose? And then all the fun little wooden crafts that you have that you can protect against earthquakes now, lunar hail, everybody can have them. Literally a Woody walking cane, day one. Like, are you kidding me, man? Fun, fundamentally sound, cool, great. And at the end of the day, minus the Wolfgang tree, I suppose, Wormwood and Woody were giving me hopeful insight towards the future. Pun not intended, but do with that as you please. And funny enough, the year would actually almost end exactly as it began, which is a good and bad thing. With not only another skill tree spotlight, but an introduction to a brand new boss too. And that's cool, because anyone who's been around this month knows that this update faced heated contention. Factor in an animation that has literally nothing to do with the survivors being spotlighted, and the questions and maybe even fatigue set in pretty quickly, I feel. At least for those who have been hanging on to some hope, unlike the rest of us, that is. Still, I gave both Wigfrid and Willow their props when they deserved them, but also some crap when it was called for, as let's face it, third time was not truly the charm. The trees themselves were expensive in comparison. Too many of the skills were not worth it in comparison to the previous ones. Parts of the newly introduced mechanics actually did indeed feel untested and unfinished, and all in all, I had to go fishing for worthwhile content to even show you guys. Literally in some cases. But bear with me now. Just how strange and telling is it when the best part of your skill spotlight update has nothing to do with your skill spotlight updates? Guys, this is the freshest batch of skill trees in our mind. We have spent all of December talking about it every single week. I am not going to sit here and keep you much longer. Wigfrid's tree, phenomenal. Probably top 3 because it's fun and fundamentally sound. It's just too expensive. Willow's fire side of her tree, amazing. So much fun. Love it. Utility-wise, fundamentally. Probably could have expanded upon a little bit more instead of just only going DPS fire mage and yada, yada, yada. But that's okay. Bernie's tree, not okay. The Beefalo Rider on Wigfrid's tree, not okay. That's the summary. The Frostjaw, unfortunately, unbelievably optional. But hopefully they expand upon it. It is fun to have a boss that turns an NPC. I do like how they expanded upon the glaciers on the ocean because of him, and the fight is fun. That's it. So then, we wrap up year 1 of skill spotlights, everyone. How do we feel about it? Well, I think we run into the same problem we're having with content updates now, everyone. I can sit here and judge them, which I have. I can sit here and praise them, which I absolutely have. And I can critique what Klei is doing overall in the direction of the game, which I have been doing. The problem is, we still don't know what the ultimate destination is, so does anything I say mean anything? Because it's weird. I'm really excited to see what some of these skill trees are, but at the end of the day, when the hype is gone, are they gonna matter at all? Like, I'm more concerned about where they're bringing the game with the content updates, and then they're just kind of sprinkling these in to kind of appease people, add some more things and stuff that doesn't, like, lead anywhere, and I want to know where it's leading. Like, if Klei comes out in 2024 and says, we are leading to this, I will actually probably ease up on them so much, because for right now, it's just all a guessing game. We get the stuff, we're very excited about stuff, but then the hype dies down, and we just want more stuff, and stuff. No. Concrete. Give us what we know is coming. That said, with the tease that was totally not related to Wigfrid or Willow whatsoever, I am very excited for the Walter skill tree. If they mess that one up, yeah, we're gonna have to have a talk, because Walter is built for skill trees. So is Winona, but Walter's, I already told you guys what I feel about that. Klei, do not F this up. Folks, let me know your thoughts down below. I hope I got across what I wanted to get across, but again, I've been talking about skill trees all year. I've been talking about particular skill trees and the fatigue of them all this month alone. So hopefully we absorbed all that and we can actually have some fundamentally sound conversations down below instead of the typical nonsense that has been showing up more and more this year. Yeah, don't be nonsensical. Be a decent human and actually, use this before you type. But thank you very much, everyone, for watching all throughout the year. It is done. 2024 tomorrow. Unbelievable. I'll see you throughout it with whatever Klei brings, no matter what. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.